Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Coaches Show here on Hornet Radio. I'm your host, Caleb Ramos, and this week we're going back to lacrosse, where at this very moment they're out in Naples, Florida, competing at Nationals. Now, luckily enough for us, my co-host Dan Prady was able to sit down with the head coach of the Fullerton College lacrosse team, Pam Lewin, before they left last week and talk to her about her insights on how the team has grown this year, what they've done to build the program year after year, and more. All of that right here on the Coaches Show.
Back in their inaugural 2018-2019 season, Fullerton lacrosse went 2-3. Since then, they've taken on tougher and tougher schedules every year, even making it to the Nationals 2 years in a row. Just now punching their way into the spotlight, starting off this season with a huge upset over UCLA, now sitting strong at 10 wins and 6 losses. Let's toss it over to Dan Prady, who's got an exclusive interview with head coach Pam Lewin coming up.
I want to start off by asking you personally, you've been with our team 7 years now, and where you've seen the most growth in the game of lacrosse itself.
I just think the athleticism, the players just keep getting better and better. It's on the CIF level at the high school, and we've been fortunate enough to make some good recruiting choices, and I just see it getting more athletic. We're doing better as far as defense. We can go to a zone backer. We can go to zone, we can go man-man, so that gives us different ways to defend. And then as far as attack, we've become more creative on our plays into the attack.
That's great. Speaking of that, you've had a lot of success on the field the last 2 seasons, respectively, 10-5 and 10-6 this season. What have you seen from the lacrosse, from Fullerton, our team, what they've done on the field? Where have you seen the most growth that way?
I just think probably in the transition, going from defense to offense. We worked really hard last year to make sure that we were solid in our transitions, and that has helped us be more effective during the games. I think, some of the players that we were able to recruit have certainly helped us. Last 2 years have been 2 of our better recruiting years, but we have dominated in draw control, and there's a couple of things statistically. If you can win the draw, you statistically have a better chance of winning the game, and also for some reason, the team that's better at ground balls has a tendency to win more games. So those 2 factors, we've spent a lot of time in practice.
That's fantastic. And speaking of that, you just got finished up with the WWLL Conference Championship. You had a three-game and 2-day turnaround. Can you talk about some of the key takeaways from that tournament?
Key takeaways is that it was a stopped clock, and that's what it will be for us at Nationals. So it makes the game a lot longer. Game was 2 hours. So for us, we played at 9 o'clock. Our game got done at 11. We had to turn around and play again at 1. That kind of hurt us physically. So we've been working on endurance and increasing that so that when we go in, that won't be the factor. But I think with the stop clock, actually it works to our advantage in some way because we're not wasting time just coming up to the draw.
Fantastic. And I want to talk about kind of the beginning of the season. We started the year by upsetting UCLA 13-6 final. Can you talk about how that set the tempo, but more importantly, the expectations for the rest of the season?
Well, we didn't get to have a scrimmage. So that first game was a little bit of a nail-biter, I think, for everybody because we had never played together with the incoming freshmen. And so we've been training since the fall. We had an intense winter intersession and then finally the opportunity to play the game. And they did great. We like all the things that we'd worked on. We worked on zone defense. It worked to our advantage. In fact, I don't even think they scored a goal in the first quarter that we played. So the defense was really pumped. We were really focusing on draw control and we were able to win the draws. And then on the attacks, we were working our plays and they were quite effective. So at the end of the game and the players start chanting Nationals and I was like, well, it might be a little soon. This is the first game we played. And we played more games this year than we had in the past, mainly because the players wanted more competition. So tried to add as many games as we could.
I love that for them. The more the better, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
I want to talk about a couple of players specifically, especially with the tournament that just happened. We finished third. So Madison Lewis in the goal. keep her position. She ended up with 11 saves in that final game against Concordia, but the entire weekend was really a dominant weekend in the net for her. Can you talk about her development this year?
Yeah, I mean, she's willing to play the position. She's actually very good at it. She's by trade a attack player, but we had two goalies last year. They both had concussions, and so she stepped into the position, and she's a natural. And I think she would tell you that her game against Concordia that clinched the third place for us was her best game. She's been working really hard. She's putting in extra reps, working on low shots, and I think that she's just going to keep getting better and better.
That's awesome. And then, I want to also highlight Brooklyn Peters had a wonderful year, 57 points, 6 assists, and specifically on that weekend, the first game with the 6 goals and then finished off the weekend with another unbelievable 6-goal performance. But really setting the tempo against USD, her, Neva Davids, as well as Juliana, they all really set that tone early, if you will. But with Brooklyn specifically, what have you seen that's really led to that success points-wise?
I think it's just the way that she prepares. She comes to practice. She trains hard. I think in everything in her life, she just preps. She's a great student, so she's smart. She's easy to work with. She loves the game. The passion that she has for it comes through. I think that having going through the season that we had when she was a freshman, she's kind of has a lot of maturity that she brings, and she can keep everybody kind of on track and focused to what the task is at hand. So it's been great to watch her development. 107 goals, 184 draw controls. I mean, she has just been stellar.
Before we get back to Dan's interview, I want to take a break and highlight all of the athletes for the Hornets lacrosse team who got awarded All-American honors this year. To start us off, we have 2 freshman defenders, Amiri Jackson and Brooklyn Martinez, both of them walking away with second-team All-American honors. Another freshman defender in Jillian Grijalva got awarded the title of Academic All-American. And then, of course, as they were just talking about, Brooklyn Peters, the star sophomore midfielder, being awarded both first-team All-American and Academic All-American as well. Now, let's head back to Dan's conversation with Coach Lewin.
That's awesome. I'm so proud of her and all the student athletes at Fullerton. And as we turn the page to the national title tournament, if you were there last year, what were some things you saw last year that you're able to then lend to this year's team? And lessons learned, if you will, but also like game plan-wise, how you attack the tournament this year?
This year, we're going a day early so that if our travel plans go awry, it's not going to affect us. Last year, unfortunately, we got in at 3 a.m. and our first game was supposed to be at 9 o'clock. They backed it up to 11 for us, but it was still pretty tough turnaround. And you could just see we had all that adrenaline and enthusiasm for the game. And so I think we scored 4 goals before it was Denver at the time, before they even scored their first goal. We were up, I think, by 2 at the halftime. And then you just saw fatigue set in because of the travel, maybe dehydration, fatigue. So I think that we took that. So we're going a day early. We'll have an opportunity to practice on the field before we have to even go and play. Not only that, getting used to stop clock. I didn't know that the WWLL was going to go with stopped clock this year for the tournament. So we had played Cal State San Marcos, which went up to D1, and we played with a stop clock. So I wanted that experience for the players because it is a bit longer. It's usually our games are about an hour and 15 minutes, and with a stop clock, it can be. I think when we played San Marcos, it was 2 hours and 20 minutes because it went to overtime. We were actually tied with them, and then again they beat us in the sudden victory. But so I think those experiences are going to really help us when we get to nationals to be more prepared. Plus we have returners this year that have already been to the big stage, and so it will be interesting to see how they handle it. I'm sure more experience is going to be better for us.
That's awesome. Can't wait to watch. And I speak for everybody here. We are rooting all our student athletes on and your coaching staff. We are so proud of all the success y'all had, and best of luck in the national title tournament.
Thank you.
We would like to once again thank Head Coach Pam Lewin for sitting down with us and for allowing us to come out to her practice to film. Once again, a big congratulations to all of the Fullerton College Hornets lacrosse members who got awarded with that All-American honor. Now, if you want to stay up to date with Fullerton College sports, be sure to come back next Friday for the next edition of the Coaches Show. And for Tommy, Dan, Becky, Joe, Ryan, and everybody else, I'm your host, Caleb Ramos, and this has been the Coaches Show on Hornet Radio.